and see was what Jesus said to two curious men who were following him and wanted to know where he was staying. Come and see, he said. And those two men became Jesus' first disciples. He was inviting them to come and see what he was all about. Come and see what ministry he would be doing. Come and see the way that he lived. That was earlier in John's gospel. Now we are in John 11, and Jesus asks Mary, who is grieving the death of her brother, "Where have you laid him?" And what does Mary say? Come and see. Come and see. This really struck me this week. Jesus being invited to come and see. Come and see Jesus. Come and see what it is to be human. Come and see what it feels like to love someone and then lose them to death. Come and see how anger and sadness co-mingle at these times. We are told that Jesus began to weep. He wept because he saw. He was willing to walk toward the suffering and feel the grief there. His weeping reveals that he is in fact human. He's part of a club that most of us, although I guess not the children, at least some of them, most of us belong to, right? The club of those who have lost loved ones. Jesus is part of that now. He is initiated into love, which includes the possibility of loss and heartbreak. Jesus was greatly disturbed by the death of his friend, and he was moved to action. I think many of us wish that we had the power to resurrect loved ones, like Jesus. I'm guessing there are many who wish they could bring back Krista today and undo the pain of loss, or better yet, prevent it in the first place. The raising of Lazarus is miraculous. This is true. But it also reveals that Jesus is with us in our human desire to hold on to what we love. He gets it at a visceral level. He gets why we are comforted by the words of Isaiah 25, which were read earlier. God will destroy on this mountain the shroud that is cast over all people. Or Revelation 21, God will be with them, will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more. These scriptures point to a world in which love is not so intimately linked with pain. Unfortunately, that world is not yet here. C.S. Lewis, in his book, The Four Loves, writes this. And this is a kind of long quote, but it's really good. So hang with me here. To love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, You must give it to no one, not even an animal. Wrap it carefully around with hobbies and little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up, safe, in the casket or coffin of your selfishness. But in that casket, safe, dark, motionless, airless, it will change. It will not be broken. It will become unbreakable, impermeable, irredeemable. To love is to be vulnerable. The choice is pretty stark in that quote. Either we love and we are vulnerable, or we are not vulnerable and we lose the capacity to love. To love is to be vulnerable. And Jesus was vulnerable. He loved. He lost. He wept. And he chose to keep on loving, to remain vulnerable, to stay alive. I hope you can hear both the comfort and the challenge in this for us today. The comfort comes from knowing that God weeps with us. God knows the heartache of longing and loss. The challenge comes when we notice where we have armored up, where we are avoiding suffering, where our love is stifled. God invites us this day to lean into those places, to come and see what love looks like. Come and see where the heart of God dwells, and to risk being vulnerable. Amen.